Hey, how are you, man?
I'm doing good, man.
I felt like I could walk into a very safe space suddenly. I was like, this is a good intro. So my name is Kai Stabel. I'm Norwegian, as you might hear from my accent, and I know this is a safe space. So if ICE is listening, my green card is still valid. I work for Michigan Medicine at the hospital here
Okay.
as project manager, but I also do conflict resolution. I run a consortium for conversational conflict resolution. And I'm recently now a divorce mediator in Michigan as well, sort of to add,
Okay.
it's a different kind of movement, but yeah, movement
Yes.
between people.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. My wife is watching. She must be so excited to hear me in this conversation with my background as well. So that's so cool. And
Yeah, so
also,
different. Yeah.
yeah, no, and movement is movement, right? Like I say that all the time. Like we whether it's physical or emotional or spiritual or just there's a sense of getting people unstuck.
And this is what I like about sort of the whole doing those 34 exercises, and also why I enjoy Blossom's class, because it's kind of like dancing. And I know people knock dance for cardio, but then they'll go to a Zumba class or they did jazzercise before, whatever. I dance like at home, and luckily had a career before that that kind of encouraged you to dance and social, because it's culture, it's movement. So
Yes.
doing these 34 exercises and now looking at the flow, which is sort of my new place I am now, is trying to find out how can I make it flow and what
Yes.
music goes well with it. And,
Yes.
and I'm just, that's what I'm enjoying, and seeing all these different people switch around and yeah, dance, really dance with the body.
Yes,
Wow.
yes, yeah. That's that. I love the transitions too, right? Like I, that's one of the things I find I get really caught up in is what's a transition? The transition is an exercise too in and of itself. How do you move with that flow between the exercises? So I find myself getting caught up in that from time to time as well.
Yeah, and what I like about, I've done a lot of different things in my life, sort of sports and all of that. But primarily, truth be told, you've been sitting the majority of your adult life. I played
Yes.
rugby, yes, I was in the army, I did things. I've been sitting.
Yeah.
And then reading Return to Life, even reading his comment about breathing, you kind of, I for myself chuckled, thought like, yeah, breathing, I know how to breathing. And then you catch yourself doing the exercises and you're like, I'm not under fucking water. Why am I holding my breath?
Yeah.
Why am I holding my breath? And you catch yourself that, like, learning to breathe, how important it is, how it feels. Yeah, no, it's just like an amazing turnaround for me, that finding some exercise that can keep on challenge you
Yes.
on the mat and also remove any excuse. What I like about it is it's the mat. You don't need anything else.
Yes.
And and now when I've had friends ask me, like, why are you doing this? Why are you enjoying it? I said, just read this little book. And I
Mm.
can understand why so many people who have done it become instructors or other things, because it's sort of, I would put it in the, not to be mean, like Bible thumper mode. It's people who've seen or heard a good word. Why wouldn't
Yes.
they want other people to feel as great as they do? So I
Yes.
fully understand and embrace that, which before, because I was introduced to Pilates maybe like 20 years ago in Beirut, but because of the machines and the person, I was like,
Yes.
whatever.
It didn't connect, right?
I'm doing yoga. All the cool chicks are doing yoga. I'm over here. This motivates me far more than the machines and your attitude. And then suddenly you realize
Yes.
all the chances that you have lost. So
Mhm.
I had met in New York, for example, one of my very best friend, the best woman in my wedding. She was, so I met her, but I never sort of knew anything more. And then as I started doing these mat exercises during the pandemic and sort of finding out, like, hey, I like this. This reminds me of doing gymnastics at school in Norway. Not like gymnastics sort of the way you think of gymnastics on the bar. I think
No.
1930s Germany with little
Yes.
cute socks, little
Right.
kids, little cute anti-skid socks,
Yes.
doing basic math work. And I was like, wait a minute, this reminds me of my childhood. It reminds me of having,
Yes.
it reminds me of something that I can do. And
Right.
yeah, then I found out, hey, Blossom does it. And my friends that do her class as well online. So
Okay.
that's my prize at the end of the week, is to get to do a class where someone who is very funny, who brings in history, of Pilates, and talks, gives her little sort of nuggets from her time with Katie, and just like this stuff, and you're thinking, this is fun. Like, I like sort of stirring with my nose.
Well, let's unpack that for a second, because I love hearing people's kind of origin stories of how they found Pilates, and I always get a kick out of their story when Pilates, when they first saw it and they didn't like it, and when they found it again and they liked it, and what the contrast was.
So the contrast was really the mat, to be honest. I mean, the mat
versus the equipment.
Versus equipment.
Okay.
The fact that it was never introduced as a mat thing. So like, even now, I decided, I gave myself 2 gifts. I said, after 34 days of doing it, I'm buying a spine corrector. After a longer time, I'm getting myself, and I asked Blossom, like, what is the best bang for buck? Because, you know, at home now during the pandemic, you can Zoom, and suddenly like, well, I'm going to buy a Cadillac. No, you know, what do you need?
Right.
So I have a bicycle, you don't need a Cadillac. So I opted to get a Wunda chair, and now I've ordered one from Rocky Mountains Pilates. Like, so he's making me one now. But again, it's just being able to do something so that I can do it better on the mat. And also, like, being able to do it tiniest mat, I will never have an excuse. I can never say I don't have enough space to do it. So I think the biggest difference was seeing the machines. And I think, you know, the same way that, as I said, people who've felt the word or seen the word,
yes,
attitude can either come across as patronizing, loving. So now we're sort of during this time being able to look on Instagram. I found a gentleman here in Michigan who trains quite a few kids. I've seen him be with kids, and like, I know I want to go and see him when this is over. Hey, I want to give him a hug, and I want to just tell him, hey, the art's already got every kid leaving with a recorder. Why can't we have them leave with a mat from school too? You know, like, how can you encourage this kind of stuff?
Yes.
So that's the excitement. Like, I like that kind of an opening where you see it all on the mat. But when people are there and burning for it, and they've just started using these machines that are helping them get their body into the right position, of course they're excited. But then if you're coming in, you're kind of like, me, I'm not getting on that thing.
Yeah, exactly. You said 2 things I had to write down before I let it just escape completely. One of them was that you're saying, so that I can do it better on the mat. And the more I talk with teachers, people get into props, and I'm not against props, and they, you know, and all those different things, but there's something powerful about just your body and the mat.
And the props matter. So for example, the guy whom you had on who did Frankie Pilates, like, I bought that book for my 7-year-old for her birthday. We love it. It's funny.
Yes.
I saw him do stuff with a roller. Like, the saw is one of my nemesis. Like, there are many nemesis. Trying to turn to the left every morning, I'm reminded,
Yes.
This is going to take some time, buddy.
Right.
So see you do it on a roller and being encouraged. Okay, I went and got myself a roller, and I wrote to him and I said, when you do roller classes, I want to do roller classes, because then I get how that can help me.
That's amazing.
Further.
Yeah.
That's what that one Friday class with Blossom is also using props that you didn't know you had.
Yes.
So improvising, but still getting the resistance, forcing yourself to stay straight. Yeah, no, I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah. And so what I was saying with that is that we have those props, but it's to help us to get better with the mat. It's not for us to depend on the props.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. I like the sense of progression with our work, and we're moving towards that efficiency of movement. We're moving towards be able to just flow with these exercises, to dance with these exercises. Like, that's the piece that sometimes we escape and we need to continue to chase after. So these things can all lend to it. Even the Cadillac lends to us being so efficient with the mat.
Yeah, no, look, I'm excited. Like, the first time I'm going to get to have like a proper class.
Yes.
So like, pay someone to spend money. Like, I'm sad that it's so expensive in many ways, but then you see what people pay for, etc. But to have someone guide your spine and have someone sort of help you really take, again, something back home that you can work on the mat. It's kind of like the difference between going to a psychologist and a psychiatrist. You know, one will give you a drug, the other one will give you something to do, you know, challenge yourself.
Yeah. Well said.
So I'm excited about that, and I'm excited to be stretched further. Like, I think a lot of the torture machines were initially made by people who were like, I just need to stretch a little bit further. Just a little bit further. And then it went wrong.
Yeah, and your Joel's comment was actually, it's funny. Joel's comment here is the exact same thing that I wrote down. Like, yes, teach them the mat and send the kids home with the mat. Brilliant. That's exactly it. I mean, like, we send them with a reformer. Why can't we with a recorder? I should say. Like, it'd be great if we send them with a reformer. Send them with a recorder, and yeah, send them with the mat. And that's one of the things that I'm really looking forward to do as our world opens up. Take that Frankie Fitness book and go into the schools with that book.
Yeah.
You know, read the book in the elementary schools, and then like send them with the book, send them with the mat, and get kids excited about movement.
And it's the same for me with conflict resolution. So conflict resolution, teaching kids mediation and meditation. So you have to meditate. You have to understand who you yourself are and any kind of a situation, perceived or real, but also giving kids the tools of listening, showing simple exercises. You can practice your listening. You can practice your attentiveness. You can practice your presence in the moment for your friends.
Yes.
And it's the same here. Like, it doesn't take a lot to teach kids. And how valuable wouldn't it be? Right. Because I can feel it in my body. Like, I wish I wasn't so intimidated by it that I had started earlier. And I have a lot of apologies I know I have to do to some friends. Some people, you know, I might give a kick in the shin. But yeah, I'm excited to see them now in New York, Beirut, other places, and actually work out with them and be like, hey.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you talk a little bit more about meditation? Because I had Akil Augustine on, who's he's actually an NBA guy, like a announcer for the Raptors. But on one of his many side hustles, he teaches about meditation, and then realized that he really just sucked at meditation. So he started teaching breathing, and just talked about the interrelationship. Can you talk about meditation and how you teach it, and what your kind of core principles around meditation are?
So it is breathing. I mean, ultimately it is breathing and being aware in the moment and appreciating the moment. So it is the same. It is centering the breath. That's why I really enjoy now breathing, doing the exercises. It's the same, like feeling how if I exhale, I'm not going to tip backwards. You know, I'm going to stay up in that open leg rocker. When feeling it, it's the same there. Like, you, by breathing, you're just present. You're feeling your presence. You're feeling the air around you.
Feeling your presence.
Start just thinking about the moment.
Yes.
And then letting that, and that for me is it. It's not about meditating for a long time. It's about doing something short, but again, like Joseph Pilates says, you know, like doing it attentively, perfecting what you're doing, being in the moment. So I have my beats. I have little beats help me count whatever I do, and that gets me going. It helps to center my breath.
Yes.
And if I lose focus, I use that to get back in it, because you also have to teach people that we all fail. You know, you're all gonna, I think even if Dalai Lama goes, that Porsche, I swear, like even he at one point drifts away, I saw that Porsche. He's into watches. So like the Dalai Lama for sure loses his focus. And it's, you can embrace that and embrace that for everyone, that even as you meditate, you will lose your focus, but it's just trying to be in the presence and start you for the day. It's an achievement. It's the same as doing the math work. It's an achievement in the day. You know, people, but in the army, you make your bed. It's the first achievement. Yeah, you make your bed, then you drink some water, you drink some more water, you think about your day, you do your mat work, and you feel phenomenal. You've suddenly stretched. And like, I had a grandfather who was a fire chief in the north of Norway, and he stretched every day. And so if he could do it, you know, who am I to say I can't do it? So yeah, and then it's like, what a great achievement. So it's the same with breathing. It's the same with any kind of mindful activities. Just be mindful, be in the moment. Like, don't have something arbitrary that you're going to do. You have to do it now. Like, I know Nike took the slogan, and this is like, I'm in America, super hyper-capitalist nation. Very funny. I have to be coming from Norway because you look the same.
Yes.
It's very, very, very different.
Very different, yes.
Very, very. I might walk north, you know, you never know. But yeah, appreciating, yeah.
Success, failure, and achievements, all within the context of meditation. And when you were saying that earlier, like, we set ourselves up for success by telling people that you might fail at this, you might get distracted, you may lose your focus. That's what Akil was saying, is that, you know, trying to meditate I'm going to sit down and meditate for an hour, and then 3 minutes in, you're like, something's caught your attention. then you feel like you're a failure, and then you shut it down completely. Whereas you're saying, you preface it by saying you make it distracted, but
Part of life.
it's part of life.
Yeah. And setting your expectations. You know, I would tell often in my old work at the United Nations that I was a disappointed realist. I'm a champagne anarchist, but if you say you're a champagne anarchist in the wrong meeting, it takes a lot longer. It's like explaining being an atheist in a very religious country. So I would say I'm a disappointed realist.
Disappointed realist.
Human rights are there. There's no excuse. You can't use a cell phone and then mistreat women. I don't accept it. Then like, so understanding even people you hate have human rights, and understanding that is who we are. And you know, we can be together. We can do so many amazing things. But yeah, we will fail, we will fall. But that's why we sort of Ubuntu. We do it together.
Yes. Yeah. I'm just reading a few comments here. Joel is saying, I'm not a behavior specialist, but it seems like teaching kids to learn to control mind, body, spirit, and contrology will help them with conflict resolution.
Oh, because it's very much, when I teach conflict resolution to adults, I always say it's the same from warlords to water coolers. Okay. So you teach listening, you teach people how to listen, and then you do analysis, but ES, not IS. Plural. You look at the people involved, you look at the context, you look at many different levels. Then we look at what's called a soliloquy. You know, when you watch a play, the actor talks out their thoughts. You then have to understand, who are you, both perceived and real in the conflict, because we're all hypocrites. You know, all hypocrites to varying degrees, and you have to be aware of that again. It's like, how are you aware of your biases? So by recognizing your biases, you then move into dialogue. And when you then move into dialogue, you're then practicing, you know, a different kind of an awareness, because you have listened, you've been in the moment for someone else, you've taken what they've said, you've also given some thought to how they see you. Are you really relevant, etc. And I like the sort of Epictetus says it well, there are things within and outside your control. So the second you embrace what you can control and what you cannot control, it'll be an easier world.
Absolutely.
Easier to be kind.
Yes, exactly. Coming from that place of understanding, for sure. Can you talk a little bit more about that soliloquy? Because I mean, in Martin speak, I would say narrative.
Yeah, your own narrative. So it's for example, if you're a mediator, for example, now as a divorce mediator, I'm going to embark to be a divorce mediator in an American culture, which is very different from my culture. So not only do I come in culturally different.
Yes.
It's then about, I have an old professor who wrote down sort of 100 questions to ask yourself before you mediate in a conflict. Okay. And it's part of that. So the soliloquy is about grounding and understanding, okay, what am I bringing to it? What do I want? Yes. What are my goals? What am I seeking to achieve? What are my needs? What are my wants? Becoming aware, analyzing my own drive, and then putting that into a context whereby I can then engage with other people, aware of how they might see me, but also it's definitely aware of how I see myself. Because that way I can recognize if I'm not the right person, for example, for mediating a conflict, which is a tough. I mean, sometimes you have to say, clearly this is not going to be me who's going to do this for you.
So that dialogue is going on at the same time you're trying to pay attention to what they're saying.
No, you listen. When you listen. Because if you listen and start thinking about yourself, you're lost. That's what we all do. We all want people to listen, you hear, and then you come back, okay, this is going to, you know. So spending time practicing listening, practicing active listening, asking questions. For example, in any kind of a negotiation, if you enforce a rule of paraphrasing, you will cut it down by half the time it takes to mediate. Because I would have to say, Martin said, ba, 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 and you could count, and then I can make my own argument. It forces me to listen, acknowledge, and that way thinking about what you're doing. So paraphrasing is a strong way of working on active listening initially. Yes. Listening positions. How do you like? Do you lean in? Do you lean back? Do you cross your arms? You know, there's quite a bit.
Right. So that's not old school, like that closed posture, that lean in, like that stuff is still relevant, like those techniques.
Because we're humans, you know, how do you feel? I mean, and humans are animals, you know, how do you, like, I enjoy this whole notion of of stretching. I think how people mimic animals. That's why I enjoy a lot, like the words and also some of the classes we have with Blossom and thinking about like being a cat and stretching your back. But I think people copied a lot of animals, you know, to impress women or men, whatever, you know. Yes. At one point, stone carvings are not enough. You know, somebody's going to do something different. Watch me do this. Oh, I feel even stronger. Like I don't have to hunt. Oh, I can just do this 5-6 times a day.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So how do you find, I'm so intrigued by the questioning and the listening narrative, all that stuff. How did you end up in the divorce mediation biz?
Brutal experience would be a silly way to say it. No, I actually got divorced myself in America. So experiencing that and having a mediation background and thinking this can be done with a lot more love. This can be done a lot more painless.
Yes.
This can be done a lot quicker and a lot less costly. So using mediation skills that work on people who've murdered villages clearly works on someone who kept on like leaving the mug out. Right. You know, I've negotiated with child soldiers to disarm. I think I can talk to your ex-wife about something. You know,
fair, yes.
That people can get along. You know, there is. So that's why I decided to. Being in not having a boat here, I liken it to being on the Titanic, you know, being in the fifth island on the Titanic. You have no sheet music, but you have to sink with the ship. So engaging in divorce mediation is something where I can engage with the local community. I'm not a religious person, maybe more spiritual, but I can then engage and give back to my community. Yes. And hoping to also do more restorative justice work with younger people here as a result. Amazing. Because there's a lot more space for that here, and hopefully more to come in the sense that not pushing kids through this justice system here in the US in particular. It's been quite eye-opening seeing how quick it's into to really just daunt someone's life and really hinder it when you can instead have a restorative justice process that has worked for millennia, you know. And I'm not talking the sort of hippie without the tie-dye. You have to show people that there is, like, that's what I'm saying, the crossed arms, it works. But in some cultures, it means something different. So again, if you don't analyze the situation you're in, it has a different meaning. Being accused of being a liar, for example, in Arabic, saying kaseb is very easy. People say, like it's not that it's easy, but it's less of an insult.
Yes.
I remember being a young Norwegian together with another Norwegian guy living in a refugee camp, Palestinian refugee camp. And these guys invited us for coffee all the time. And my friend Mats was called Kaseb because he said, like, we'll try and come. He's like, oh, you never come into Kaseb. He goes, like, call me a liar. And realizing just small things. But the more you, again, listen. But listen to the body, look at how people behave. So even in mediation, it matters how do people sit. The Turks and the Israelis had a sort of a big issue with who were sitting where, higher chairs, lower chairs.
Interesting.
So whole newspaper article, you had like a dotted line where they show, oh, look, he had a higher chair because in this other picture, he's actually shorter. So it all matters. I mean, for those who have kids, for example, if you have teenage kids, I've seen you go like strong kids. My son is taller than I am, and I told my ex-wife when he started, you know, that's young boys who start puffing your chest.
Yes.
Arguing when you know you're right.
Yes, flexing on him. Yes.
When that happens, what you do is you tell him, because he becomes intimidating. So I said, would you tell him to sit down? Let's sit down. When he sits down, I say, don't sit down. It takes more energy to stand up again for him. So he's then already under your spell. You're standing, you have a power. You have power. You use your body to control. So there are all these little tweaks that we can learn from animals, from other people, from other cultures.
Right.
And it makes people feel comfortable. It makes people feel at ease.
Yes, absolutely. I love seeing all your posts with your daughter.
Thank you. Yeah, she's quite a little hero. She's the reason I remained in America.
Oh, yeah. How old is she?
She's 7.
Yeah.
So I have a 7-year-old, and then I have a 23-year-old who's now in Norway, seeing a different part. But he used to travel with me before with the UN. He was also here. So
Okay.
Especially he's being so far away for so long, but we'll get.
Yes. Yeah. And it's in watching you interact with your daughter, I always like think it's fun to watch dads when they have to access that part of themselves to connect with a 7-year-old girl. Like that's a different part of your whole being you have to connect with, right?
Completely. And it's again the work that it takes. I mean, that's what I like to return to life. Because somebody said, "What are you doing on Monday? You told us to go on this thing." I said, "I'm talking to this Adonis-like guy." you know, and he said, "What?" I said, "Well, some people had a shorter return to life walk. Somebody's been paying attention their whole life." And it's the same with kids and engaging with kids. I often liken it to having had. I used to play video games, but I was good at video games when I was 18 or whatever. I'm no longer playing video games. I have kids, and you have to give that time to your kids, and you have to spend the time. So it's not about just sort of. You really have to enjoy playing. I really enjoy playing. I enjoy you move, it's chase, it's fun.
Yes.
Who doesn't enjoy it? I mean, it's you've been tricked to thinking that it's not fun.
Well, I think we're distracted by all the other stuff that makes us busy, and we have this confused view that that's more important, that those things need to get the best part of our day. Like those things are, you know what I mean? Like there's no real return on investment by, having a tea party, but really there is a massive return on investment because you don't see it right away, right?
Yeah, and it's a movement, it's playing, and with the kids, like having the tea party, being willing to be vulnerable, just be in the moment, allow people to set the thing. Even doing sort of mediation, doing development work, also humanitarian work, people would think, oh, you have to have all these great project ideas. No, it's about shutting up and listen. I know I'm talking a lot because you and I are having a conversation.
Yes.
But if you needed my help, you're the one who's going to find the solution.
Yes.
I would say even organic chickens have a fence. I would fence it around, give you some obstacles, different things, and we would talk. But it's you who come up with a solution because you know where the aches are. So I'm eager, for example, to go back to Pilates. I'm eager to go and get someone to work on my body, do a whole. But my body is also letting me know when I'm doing these exercises that, if I tip my neck in, it doesn't hurt in my middle of my back when I roll.
Yes.
So that pain was only because I didn't do the correct thing. But you're listening to your body, you're feeling a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that was good. I love the return to life analogy. We keep coming back to the book.
I like it.
Yeah, I love it too. I do. And apart from the actual exercise, the movement in there, is there something else that stands out? Like we mentioned breathing. I like, for myself, I like when he mentions like play and just and that, we mentioned that too. Like what are some of the things that kind of resonate with you in the book outside of the exercises?
So for me, what resonates, so I have one thing that I want to check, but I don't want to try and trip him up early on, which is he mentioned that the Greeks sort of took a Roman thing and went further with it. I think it was the other way around, but that's my one sort of little thing. I think that's him being Greek, putting it in. I want to explore, but
okay.
But what I really enjoy when I read it is sort of that reminder that you can go a little bit further. So I like that when you stretch further, you can go a little bit further. I like that. I really enjoy that thought in my head that, it's always a little bit further you can go.
Always a little bit further. Yes.
And then the other thing, I like how applicable his sort of philosophy to life is to today. It's the same non-moving your body. It's the same stagnant lifestyle.
Yeah.
So it still fits in. It really, really resonates, and it's short. And I think that's also good because you need something that's straight and to the point that says, well, if you're going to cut down a tree, who's going to shout timber first? Is it going to be the person who looked after his axe his whole life, or is it going to be me? Like if it's you and I who are going to cut down a tree, yes, I've been doing this now for like 70 plus days, and I'm excited.
Yes.
You've been doing it for a few years. You're going to shout timber while I'm still working it.
Yes.
But it's about accepting that, and accepting that perfection is doing it over and over again. And he also, his talk of rest, he says 4 days. I like that part as well, sort of acknowledging that there needs to be rest.
Yes.
It's just like little nuggets. I chuckle.
So many nuggets.
And the breathing stuff I really enjoy because it is true. Like there are little truths. that remind you that you're responsible yourself. But at the same time, like, who's your Joseph? I think, like, who do you find that inspire you to do the right thing? I'm like, Joseph didn't father the child; he just helped raise it. So, you know, who's your Joseph in this case? Sort of to guide you on a journey. I think that is the exciting thing for me now. It's like finding all these people that are sharing their little love for it, but also sharing their ability to say, hey, when you do that, if you try and do this, whoa, suddenly your arm goes further. I mean, I can see dust in places I didn't know I had dust now, but I can also reach them and clean. I'm enjoying cleaning with both hands because I'm like, perfect sense. Should use both.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And being outside. I also think sort of his whole thing about working out in less clothes makes perfect sense, not to go completely Greek. But having like cleaned all those t-shirts, I can understand also in the washing board days how frustrating, because even doing those 34 exercises is drenching.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I like the notion of being outside. In my culture, fresh air is what's recommended for almost all ailments. Like if you're sick, you need fresh air.
Yes.
Your foot hurts, you need fresh air. There's no such thing as bad clothes, no bad weather, only poor choice in clothing. Like you're all
clothing. Yeah. Yeah.
outside. And someone who also talks about how important it is to have the sun touch your body. I mean, I'm from a place so far north that we ate liver, and we still eat liver called oil to get vitamins you get from the sun.
Yes.
Dude, like we're eating fish liver called oil, which tastes horrendous.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. To get what you can get from the sun, you just step outside, even above clouds. So I like that in him. I like the practicalness, and he reminds me much of my grandfather in that sense of sort of that just healthy, like just a healthy person being lean and utilizing your body. So for me, what motivates me is I have some pictures now of my grandfather, my great grandfather, like doing different kinds of sports. I'm waiting for a framed version of the Leonardo da Vinci's The Man, because I think that whole thing, moving your body and all, I think that's an executive summary. That was him taking Plato's Republic and talking about how you need to move your body in a one-pager. He was like, look, your body moves in all these angles. Do it every day.
And go. Yes. Yeah.
Play around.
I remember when you were saying that just about your grandfather, I just remember seeing my dad's uncle, who's in his 80s, at a picnic a couple of years back, and he had a cast on or sling on his arm, and it turned out that he had fallen from a tree. And I was like, at 80, what are you doing climbing a tree, right? It was like they're in Jamaica. He's at his home in Jamaica, and he was climbing a tree to get a mango and fell and hurt his arm. And I was thinking to myself, like, well, I asked him, like, why were you climbing a tree? And he goes, because I was the youngest one there.
So that's a good number to be the youngest at 80.
1, 2, to be that adventurous still, to think that you're still capable of doing it. I'm sure he climbed the tree many times before that and many times after that. That didn't stop him. That's that lineage, right? Like, that's the thing. I love that he was just like, hey, I got to get that mango.
Yeah, it's important.
But that's movement, right? And like, if you can stay, like, keep that vitality and keep your life that strong and virile, that's something that you can do and can move like that forever. Like,
even the dry scrubbing. So I mean, in the book, the whole notion of like dry scrubbing, it's, you read it and you think, but then as you do it before you, like after you're done working out, etc., like before you go in the shower, that's an extra round of stretching, and sort of that agreeing with what he says, only to use the handheld part, like don't have it on a stick, forcing yourself to bend further. Like I can now bend further down than I could ever have done, and I would not have realized that it wasn't because I was staring at my belly button, trying to make a C as I'm going down, breathing, and then starting brushing upwards from my toes. So no, I agree. I mean, look, it's I'm not going to be like fun. I think fundamentalism is always a bit kind of scary. I have faced back to sort of the unkindness that can easily happen. But trying. I mean, it's all about trying. It's all about trying to do better. And I enjoy, like, I'm trying to do better. It's a soul. I'm happy when I'm able to feel like, oh, I put all the weight on my arms here, and when I'm doing the bicycle, it's actually going further down the. Like, that is control. That is no longer sort of just those are the moments. Like I wrote to Blossom one morning, I was able to hold on to my ankle and have my leg almost stretched. And I think it is because when I was swimming for the first time, I felt I was stretching further at the same time. I was like, whoa, it felt different. And that kind of stuff I truly enjoy, because I know will not, for many reasons, suddenly change and transform and become like a super athlete in that sense. But it is helping me do that return to life walk, which is sort of far away working when you started. And I think that's the humbleness about it. If you expect it completely, if I expected to look like you after doing this for 30 days, I would be on some great drugs. But but knowing that, okay, I'm feeling better, like I'm seeing changes. I can imagine you being an instructor and other people hearing people all the time saying, I can see stuff, or I can do stuff I've never seen before.
It's the best feeling.
Never seen kind of stuff. And just, I suddenly realized, okay, my left leg is bigger because I've always been putting all the weight on it. But as I've been doing this, now when I'm doing the 100, I'm actually seeing that the calves are becoming sort of more similar size somehow.
Yes.
Dog nabbit not knows. But I think it's also because during the day, I am working on standing.
That's balance, yeah.
How are you standing? Are you shifting your weight back and forth? Are you grounding? So that's what I like. Like, it's short enough to kind of remind me during the day when I'm doing stuff. And I enjoy like that I can rock up. And I'm a lot on the floor with my daughter and other kids. My neighbor would make fun of me before for having like a whole snow gear suit. I like to be on the ground with the kids. And now I can roll up. I can sit up and down without any kind of problem. Like that kind of stuff, phenomenal.
And kudos to Blossom and all the teachers out there that are really strong on cultivating that awareness within our students. And I think that's the one thing that we need to continue to cultivate as teachers, is that sense of the students being aware of what's happening in their body, their students being aware of the changes that are happening. Because all the stuff that you said there, that is so inspiring, Kai, because I'm hearing you and you're so aware of your body, like a teacher level awareness of your body and the minutia of what's happening and the change that's happening in the scoop and all these different things. When we as teachers can get our students a place of being that aware of their body and that insightful as to what's happening and how they can make those little pivots and move with intention, you see amazing results, and you get the credit for those results. Like, it's not like I've waved a magic wand and I've had you on this machine that's whipped your body into shape. You have done that.
You've done it, but also but you have to appreciate the guidance. And that's sort of what I enjoy about it, is that you can still do it. So that's sort of like, you can do a lot of it, but sort of having someone willing to put their hands on your sweaty back. Like my son and I at one point did yoga to the people when we lived in New York, and he had long hair, and we walked into the wrong class. It's kind of like 4 stories in the East Village. And my son Marcus, he goes like, Papa, they're stretching against the wall with their feet up. And I look, and like all of them are standing splits already before the class has begun. Yikes. I sweated so much, like a pool on the thing. And the instructor at one point came and sort of squeezed my spine, shaped me as I was doing. And my son looked at me and he says in Norwegian, he's like, it's disgusting. Like, I would never have this job. Like, he's like, you touch your back, and like, you're so sweaty. And I'm like, someone who's willing to do that. And I listened to your talk about like how, placing the hands, how do you do it? How do you make someone feel comfortable, someone feel guided, someone feel safe? That it's there to help you. Yeah, and that's what I'm excited again to do. Like, I'm excited to try things where people will be able to say, because they see it from a different angle. I mean, Da Vinci said, see everything from 3 approaches. Yes. And here you have sort of that, or from three different angles. So having someone go, no, when you do this or when you do that, you can change it this way. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm excited because I want to feel better in my body. Like that's my drive. It is how, I mean, yeah, you can do like Commando, that old movie with Schwarzenegger, buy all the stuff, but you can then get hit by a car as you cross the road. But like, do you want to feel well when you get hit by the car, or do you want to feel shitty? I used to live with like a Finnish guy. He said, I don't go out when I'm hungover. I said, why? He says, I believe that you stay eternity the way you feel when you die. So I'm too scared of dying, getting hit by a car hungover. So like, I'm always, so for me, like, there's no, it's an eternal. And I was like, that's heavy, but like, you get it when you're 18, it sticks. Very wise, we thought. But for me, that sense of constantly growing and seeing like there's always going to be space to grow. There's always going to be something, but it's about making the body feel better.
Yes. just laughing at Joel's laughing at your last comment there too. That was golden.
Yeah. So no, I'm so excited that I found it. I'm so excited that or found back to it. I mean, it's kind of like even in this, they say you were all born Muslims. That's, by the way, my safety phrase. But he was like, what do you do if somebody corners you? Even in Islam, the belief is you're born a Muslim, and then you find your way back. So I think it's a beautiful looking at things. Also here, it's like
you're saying, yes.
It's really just feeling so much better. I feel so much greater. The amount of friends, old and new, that I've sort of nudged and say, yeah, you read this book, and they ask, well, how do you do it? And I was like, no, I did a couple of mat classes, and then I found different people on YouTube, and found someone who had the pace that I enjoyed.
Yes.
And now the pace is changing, and now I just need to hear it, and the goal is to be able to remember them and just make it part of a no excuse start to a day.
Yes. Yeah.
So, no, I'm excited. I'm very from a pandemic. I mean, a lot of shit, but this one here is quite great.
Definitely, so great, man. To have 15 students like you in a classroom would be like the best thing ever.
No, but it helps though. I mean, it really helps to be happy, and I mean, it's a whole thing about life in general. It's a whole thing about mediation. It's a whole thing about how you treat other people.
Yes.
I used to tell my colleagues and staff before, I said, hey, try and make 3 people smile today without being creepy. That's my challenge. Make 3 people smile. Just don't be creepy. Just strangers. Living in New York, it's easy. I would have a red nose. I would move my hands and you have a red nose on as you're biking down the street.
Yeah.
That moment is enough. Just think about when people, or acts of kindness that have had no strings attached to them, when someone has you in a way, stays with you for life. I had someone who needed a ticket once, looked at me, touched my hand in a subway or like at the Tube in London.
Yes.
Great. Nothing else. He got a tube ride out of it. But I will never forget the feeling of his hand in my hand, and this is the acknowledgement of being human and seeing. I know it's hard when people are asking for money or asking for help, especially at this, when it's harder for people. Well, if they come to a stage where they're asking for help, they've taken a big step. Then it's good for you to acknowledge it, look at them, recognize their space, help out. So it is kind of that driver. Like that's what being happy. I mean, we're very happy as well. You realize you're how fortunate you are.
Absolutely.
So.
Such a rich conversation, honestly.
So that's a good start to my day.
Yeah, no, I could. What are you doing tomorrow?
Coffee, I believe, at one point. Yeah, no. That's the cool thing is I'm so excited what Instagram must be doing for a lot of you instructors and others, is that opportunity to see instructors that inspire you, that do stuff, and so much both free content, but you also, again, back to my who's your Joseph? It doesn't matter how much you watch and how much you still need someone to guide you, to show you sort of where is the spirit of Pilates in it. What can I do?
Yeah.
So I'm happy in that sense because I've been seeing people all over the world that I want. There's this Heikki guy in Finland. I love Finland.
He's fantastic. Yes, I have him on.
I've decided I'm just going to go and see. I have another friend or 2 or 3 in Finland. It's a good place to go. So I'm definitely, even you're inspired to see these people who are so happy about sharing movement and just sharing cool little tweaks again on how to do it. So yeah, I'm very happy.
And likewise, I'm so good. I'm happy we had this conversation. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Martin, and have
amazing.
A cool day. I'll see you soon.
All right. Well, let's get a workout in at some point together too.
We will.
That would be so fun. Awesome. Okay, signing off. Thank you again, Kai. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.